And we'll close out today by looking at the Octobrush Nouveau. So I actually talked about the brush a lot on yesterday's stream, where we had a brush player, and it was the ink brush there, so definitely significantly different, but the general game plan for the brushes is still the same. Your melee range... Your range is not particularly great. This weapon's is about a little bit worse than Splash-O-Matic. So even though the Octobrush has longer range, I think people often overestimate how much it has. And so your goal is not really to be using this as a Slayer weapon, because it's a 3-shot, it's pretty slow, and on top of that, you have to get really close to them to be able to start firing the shots. So in terms of time to kill, it's very unreliable, and you'd rather be doing that damage from a position where they don't know you're there. Like, you really need to ambush people if you're going to go for picks super reliably. Or what you can also do is try to play to the ability to hit up over ledges. Because this sort of damage that you can get is pretty powerful if you're able to put yourself in a position to abuse it. There isn't actually a great position in the training room to really show this off to its full effect. But for example, the Octobrush is really powerful on a map like Inkblot, where you've got the stacks in central places. If you put an Octobrush on top of those stacks, it can attack in all 4 directions, and it doesn't really have to leave the ledge that much. It can just be kind of doing damage over the side like this, in a very wide arc that's difficult to avoid. So setting yourself up in those kinds of places is really good. And also just playing the I'm going to flank you game, where you try to get in and threaten sharking, threaten aggressive plays through your ink a little bit. And that's a way that you can try and play the weapon as well. This weapon in particular, with the beacons in the storm, can benefit from playing a little bit more supportive. It can benefit from playing around getting those ink storms more often. It can benefit around getting into places that only a brush can get into, dropping a beacon there, and being able to reliably get out without having to worry too much. And then it paints pretty decently. All of the brushes really do paint for special pretty well. They have a relatively short painting range, so it's not the best for like pushing in while you're painting. But if you're just going for a special, you just kind of get into an open area and spin around in a circle without even having to move that much, and you do paint a lot pretty fast by doing that. So we'll show you here. That was about half the way to special without having to move too much, and then we do a little bit more of this and we've got it. So a more support-oriented kit, but still something that you can play very aggressively. It's something that we saw Red Shell using in the matches against Alliance Rogue from Mode Cup the other day in Tower Control. So you can see some high-level Octobrush play from watching them. They were from Team Pickup Smiley Face, which was predictably a pickup. So that's one way you can look at it. One thing I would discourage is the playstyle that you see a lot of brushes try to adopt in Clamblitz, where they just make a clam and put the brush down and run to the basket. You will get to a point, especially on this slower brush, where people's aim is just too good, and you will not survive running in like that. And even if you do get in, if your team can't follow you in to score more points, you're going to put a power clam in, and then not much else is going to happen. And you're only going to score by 20 at a time, but then only by 10 at a time, because you're going to get a penalty every time you score. And every time you're scoring, you're also giving them a power clam that the game just makes for them. So you're getting 10 points in exchange for giving them 20. It's really not worth very much. So you always want to be coordinating your pushes in coordination with your team. That doesn't mean you can't, run the power clam in from an angle they're not watching, or from an angle that they can't defend very well. That's always an option, but I would definitely recommend against using this if your only goal is, I want to run power clams into the basket fast. I've tried this a couple of times, and every time I've been getting at least double brush, which is really annoying, because that is not a great team comp to have to play around. It makes it so that I'm not able to do the flanking that I really want to do on this weapon. Forces me to really hold the middle a little bit to allow somebody else to flank. But it's okay to play a little bit more of a supportive role when you end up in those kinds of comps. It's just not what I really want to show off here. Couldn't take any more shots because I knew I was going to get attacked from above. There, we get that player that way, and then hopefully we cover this. No, we don't. We run away. We'll clean that up for the teammate. Throw that there. That'll force them to respond a little bit. This player's stuck. Oh, they're so weak, and we've got a bunch of clams. Get the jump, get the jump. Nice. One above. We should be able to score off this. We don't have enough clams. We only have 6. Get these in here fast. Okay, we've got the clams, but now a bit of a disadvantage. Seeing if I could catch them overcommitting there. Yeah. When you paint that, you're probably going to draw aggro. And so the goal is just to get them to commit to it and run away. And I can jump right back in and be in the same place that I was before. And now is when I actually go. So we're pushing through the left side, which means that flanking around the right wasn't a bad idea. Just timing wasn't quite there. It's a little bit easier with a coordinated team to make that work. I don't think we actually are able to get the one clam they need to them. Let's see if that helps. We lost our other player over there. I'm just going to back up and get some paint over here. I don't know how safe this is going to be. Thankfully, the other teammate was watching, and so because they covered it, I was able to do lethal damage. Let's throw that out that way. And then see if we can't move in with it. Unfortunate. Didn't quite have pressure on bunker at the same time that I was going in. But it was the right idea, just I needed to wait for my teammates a little bit more. Nice. Okay. So we ignore all of that going on because it doesn't threaten me from getting to the goal and scoring these clams. And we put one of these in just to be cheeky. It's going to give them something to shoot at when they get back. Made them miss a few, which helps. If they go in, okay. Yeah, we still have control over here. We just... Someone needs to be collecting clams here. There we go. And this is how this weapon can turn very aggressive very quickly. If you start being able to flank in and get beacons in their base, you can be a major sharking threat and get into positions that it's difficult to dislodge you from. These here just for safety. I can't stay too long because I might attract attention from unwanted third parties, but they just decided to force the issue, which is not the way that that's going to work. Fortunately, they make it through. That's very consistent. We beat them there. And they don't have any follow-up. We'll just pop this and then go into mid because they're going to run toward us thinking they have an advantage because they scored. Oh, they're so weak up there. Oh, well, there was just someone there. I thought my teammate was going to have shot at them and moved them out of the way already. If we get that one clam in like... Oh, wasn't it quite the right time? Okay, they didn't have a power clam made, so it's fine. It doesn't matter. Overtime won't trigger unless they have the power clam when time runs out. So that wasn't too bad. We had a good moment where we were able to stay in their base and be a little bit of a gremlin. Shark our way in. Get a bunch of picks that way. It didn't lead to as much as it probably would have on a coordinated competitive team, because it's hard for your teammates to see that you're in those positions without you telling them. So they might miss it and not follow up on it. But we got some pretty good value out of that. There are some situations where you do just have to play a lot more supportive. You have to just paint for your special and use your special as often as you can. And it does paint for Inkstorms pretty well. But it's a little bit dangerous not having a bomb, because not having a bomb means you can't really poke people and get them to back up away from you. So you really have to be smart about finding a way to use your main weapon. It's the longest range that you've got. We'll see you next time.